Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Om Gyanatimrandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksulmitam Yena Tasmei Shri Guruve Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna. So we're going to continue our discussion from Caitanya Caritamrta. So currently we're on Madhya Lila, chapter 24, titled Explanations of the Atmarama verse. And we'll be reading from text 65 onwards. So, sorry, Ghanshyam Prabhu couldn't make it today, so he just asked me to continue the discussion. So it's a very auspicious day today on the appearance day of Srila Advaita Acharya. And yeah, so we'll continue our discussion, and just to give a bit of background. So at the start of this chapter we saw how currently we're in the middle of a conversation between Sanatana Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sanatana Goswami has requested Mahaprabhu that can you please this famous verse from the Bhagavatam called the Atmarama verse, which comes in the first canto. I've heard previously that you gave many different interpretations or different meanings of this verse. Can you please also tell me all of these wonderful different meanings of this famous verse, Atmarama verse? Then Mahaprabhu agrees, and before he starts to give the actual different meanings of this sloka, Mahaprabhu, what he'll do, he'll first break up the sloka and give word-for-word translations of all the words which are present in the sloka. And that's what Mahaprabhu is doing now. And he won't just give one word meaning for one particular Sanskrit word, but he'll give multiple different meanings for each Sanskrit word in this particular Atmarama sloka. So yesterday, Ghanshyam Prabhu covered Mahaprabhu's explanations of the meaning of the word Hari, which comes in the Atmarama verse. And Mahaprabhu was giving different meanings of the word Hari. And before that, Mahaprabhu was explaining the meaning of the words Itam Bhuta Gana. So the full Atmarama sloka goes, it's mentioned at the start of the chapter. Okay, so the full sloka goes something like Atmaramas Chamunayo Nirgrantahi Api Urukrame. Okay, somewhere at the start of the chapter, the whole sloka is mentioned. And so Mahaprabhu is just going word by word and giving word by word definitions. So now in text 65 onwards, Mahaprabhu is going to explain the meanings of the word cha and api. Okay, so text 65 of chapter 24 of Madhya Lila. When the conjunction cha and the adverb api, or although, are added to this verse, the verse can assume whatever meaning one wants to give it. The word cha can be explained in 7 ways. So now Mahaprabhu is going to explain how the Sanskrit word cha can be explained in 7 different ways. It can give 7 different meanings. Text 67. The words cha or and is used to connect a word or sentence with a previous word or sentence, to give the sense of aggregation, to assist the meaning, to give a collective understanding, to suggest another effort or exertion, or to fulfill the meter of a verse. It is also used in the sense of certainty. So Mahaprabhu is quoting from a verse from the Shastra, is explaining how the word cha can be used in a Sanskrit verse for 7 different reasons. One of the reasons Mahaprabhu is giving is just to fulfill the meter of a verse. So different verses, they have different meters. Just like the Bhagavad Gita slokas, most of them, they have 8 syllables. Each line will have 8 syllables. Like Dehi no smin yata dehe. Kaumaram yuvanam jara. Like that. So most of the verses of Bhagavad Gita, they all have 8 syllables in each line. So Mahaprabhu is explaining, sometimes the word cha will be put into a Sanskrit sloka just to fulfill the meter of that verse, just to fulfill the 8 syllables, 10 syllables, 18, so on and so forth. Another reason Mahaprabhu is giving, that cha can be also used in the sense of certainty, that you must do this, you must chant the holy name in Kali Yuga, otherwise there's no other way. So to put a little bit of emphasis or certainty, the word cha can also be used. In this way, Mahaprabhu is also saying that the word cha can be used to connect a word or sentence. So in this way, the word cha can be used in different contexts. Text 68. There are 7 chief meanings of the word api. They are as follows. So now Mahaprabhu will give 7 different meanings of the Sanskrit word api. Text 69. The word api is used in the sense of possibility, question, doubt, censure, aggregation, appropriate application of things, and extravagance. Text 70. I have now described the different meanings of the 11 separate words. Now let me give the complete meaning of the sloka as it is applied in different places. So now Mahaprabhu has finished giving the word by word definition of all the individual Sanskrit words that make up this famous Atmarama sloka. So now what Mahaprabhu will do, so for each Sanskrit word he has given multiple meanings. So using those multiple meanings of the multiple words in the sloka, he will combine them in different ways and give proper 64 different explanations. So the same one sloka Mahaprabhu will explain in 64 proper meanings of that verse. But before he goes on to give the actual 64 different explanations of this verse, Mahaprabhu will give some indication of the different meanings. It's kind of like a prelude before Mahaprabhu gives the actual definitions. Mahaprabhu will give like a introductory prelude to what the different meanings could be. So that we're going to hear now from text 71 onwards. Okay, 71. The word Brahma indicates the sum and bonum, the absolute truth which is greater than all other truths. It is the original identity, and there can be nothing equal to that absolute truth. 72. I offer my respectful obeisances to the absolute truth, the sum and bonum. He is the all-pervasive, all-increasing subject matter. For the great yogis, he is changeless, and he is the soul of all. 73. The proper meaning of the word Brahma is the Supreme Personal Godhead, who is one without a second and without whom nothing else exists. 74. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma and the personality of Godhead. So Mahaprabhu is quoting that famous verse from Bhagavatam, Vedantitat Tattva Vidas Tattvam Yajnanam Advaim, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan Iti Sabjate. 75. That absolute truth without a second is Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personal Godhead. He is the supreme truth in the past, present, and future. That is the evidence of all revealed scriptures. Now Mahaprabhu is going to quote a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is one of the Chatur-sloki verses of Bhagavatam. Just like we have the Chatur-sloki verses of Bhagavad Gita in 10th chapter, similarly Bhagavatam also has 4 seed verses. So Mahaprabhu is going to quote one of them. So this is text 76 of Madhya Lila, chapter 24. Aham evasam evagre nanyad yatsad asad param paschat aham yad etacha yo avasisyeta so asmi aham. Prior to the cosmic creation, only I exist and no phenomena exist, either gross, subtle, or primordial. After creation, only I exist in everything, and after annihilation, only I remain eternally. So here we see that, this just reminds me, Srila Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Maharaj, he actually says that if one hasn't read Caitanya Caritamrta, then one can't claim to have read Srimad Bhagavatam. So say a particular devotee, he's read Srimad Bhagavatam, he's read the 12 cantos, the 18 volumes, but he hasn't read Caitanya Caritamrta. Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Maharaj says, if you haven't read Caitanya Caritamrta, but you read Bhagavatam, you still can't claim to have read Bhagavatam. Until you read Caitanya Caritamrta, then only you can say, okay, I've read Bhagavatam. Why? Srila Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Maharaj, he explains that actually Caitanya Caritamrta is just like an elaboration of Srimad Bhagavatam. So for you to completely understand the essence of Bhagavatam, for you to go deep into Bhagavatam and properly understand the concepts of Bhagavatam, you have to read Caitanya Caritamrta. Unless you read CC, unless you read Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj explains that you haven't fully read Srimad Bhagavatam yet. Why? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he explains, because the whole Caitanya Caritamrta, it's full of verses quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. And what Mahaprabhu and his associates will do, they will quote different verses from different sections of Bhagavatam and will explain these amazing verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, giving their realizations. So when we read Caitanya Caritamrta, we'll come across so many wonderful key slokas, nectar verses from Srimad Bhagavatam being quoted. Not only they'll be quoted, but Mahaprabhu and his associates like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Ramananda Roy, so on and so forth, will give explanations of these wonderful verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, it helps us better appreciate and helps us go deeper into Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like we're seeing here in text 74 of this chapter, 24. In text 74, Mahaprabhu is quoting Vedantita Tattva Vidas from first canto. Then, just 2 verses later in text 76, again Mahaprabhu is quoting another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Aham evasam evagre, from the second canto. Like this, the whole CC, every single chapter, there will be quotations from different sections of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj explains that actually, CC is actually Bhagavatam. It's non-different. CC is just a further elaboration of Bhagavatam. And until you read and dive deep into the nectar of Caitanya Caritamrta, you can't claim to have studied Srimad Bhagavatam. So like this, we'll see so many, if you're looking for nice verses to memorize, nectar verses to memorize, then there's no better place than Caitanya Caritamrta. Because Caitanya Caritamrta picks out all the amazing, beautiful slokas from all the great shastras like Srimad Bhagavatam and other amazing shastras, and all puts them all together in one book. So it's a very wonderful, transcendental piece of literature that we should all make the most out of and dive deep into. Go next text, text 77. The word Atma, self, indicates the highest truth, Krishna. He is the all-pervasive witness of all, and he is the supreme form. Text 78. Hari, the personality of Godhead, is the all-pervasive original source of everything. He is therefore the super soul of everything. 79. There are 3 ways to attain the lotus feet of the absolute truth. Krishna. There is the process of philosophical speculation, the practice of mystic yoga, and the execution of devotional service. Each of these has its different characteristics. So Mahaprabhu is saying there's 3 different ways you can approach Krishna's lotus feet or the absolute truth. One through the path of karma, through the path of Mahaprabhu is saying first through the path of jnana, then the path of yoga, and lastly through the path of bhakti. Text number 80. The absolute truth is the same, but according to the process by which one understands him, he appears in 3 forms, as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality Godhead. Now again, Mahaprabhu will quote the same verse from Bhagavatam, first canto. Vedantita tattva vedas tattvam yajnana madhven brahmaiti paramatmenmi bhagavan iti sabjate. And text 82. Although the words Brahma and Atma indicate Krishna, their direct meaning refers only to the impersonal Brahman and the super soul respectively. 83. If one follows the path of philosophical speculation, the absolute truth manifests himself as impersonal Brahman. And if one follows the path of mystic yoga, he manifests himself as the super soul. So first Mahaprabhu explains there's 3 different paths. There's the path of jnana, path of yoga, and the path of bhakti. Then Mahaprabhu explains there's 3 different aspects of the absolute truth. There's the Brahman aspect, then Paramatma aspect, and then the Bhagavan aspect. And now Mahaprabhu is connecting these 2 things together by saying those who follow the path of jnana, studying the shastras, analyzing, mentally speculating, neti, not this, not that. So those who follow the path of jnana, philosophical speculation, they can only realize Krishna in his aspect of Brahman. And then next, the yogis, those who follow the path of yoga, they can go 1 step higher and they can realize Krishna in his aspect as Paramatma. Then next, Mahaprabhu will explain those who follow the path of bhakti, they can understand the absolute truth in full by understanding his Bhagavan feature. Text 84. There are 2 kinds of devotional activities, spontaneous and regulative. By spontaneous devotional service, one attains the original personality Godhead, Krishna, and by the regulated process, one attains the expansion of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Now when it comes to bhakti, Mahaprabhu is saying in bhakti, the path of bhakti you can divide into two sections. One is doing bhakti according to rules and regulations, Vaidhi bhakti, and the other one is sadhana bhakti, and the other one is spontaneous devotional service, Raganuga bhakti. And Mahaprabhu is saying, if you do spontaneous devotional service, the higher one, the Raganuga bhakti, then you can go and get the association of Swayam Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. But Mahaprabhu is saying, if you do sadhana bhakti, if you just do bhakti according to rules and regulations, then one attains the expansion of the Supreme Personality Godhead, which means one goes to one of the Vaikuntha planets, because that's where all the avatars are, right? So in Vaikuntha, there's many different Vaikuntha planets. So there's a planet for Nrsimhadev, where Lord Nrsimhadev is worshipped. There's a planet for Varahadev, Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, Vamanadev, so on and so forth. So all of these expansions of the Supreme Person God, incarnations, they're all in Vaikuntha. And Mahaprabhu is saying, only if you do Raganuga Bhakti can you go directly to Goloka Vrindavan and engage in direct service of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. But if you do devotional service according to rules and regulations, you can only go up to Vaikuntha. You can't go beyond that. So then the question comes, we're all doing bhakti according to rules and regulations. Does that mean we can only go to Vaikuntha? Does that mean we won't go back to Goloka Vrindavan to serve Shri Shri Radha Gopinath? So Ghanshyam Prabhu is explaining this point, I think in one last year or the year before, during Gaur Purnima, Ghanshyam Prabhu was giving the class, Bhagavatam class, and he was explaining this point. How actually in Caitanya Caritamrta it's explained, the Acharya has explained, that we do Vaidhi Bhakti, we do Sadhana Bhakti, devotional service according to rules and regulations, and we worship Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, and Shri Shri Gaur Nitai will take our Sadhana Bhakti and transform it into Raganuga Bhakti and offer it to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. So in this way, although we are engaged in sadhana bhakti, devotional service according to rules and regulations, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, they're so merciful that while we worship them according to rules and regulations, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai will take that sadhana bhakti and offer it to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. But when they offer our sadhana bhakti to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, it becomes Raganuga Bhakti. And this way, we get qualified to go straight back home, back to Goloka. Another insight into this, Ghanshyam Prabhu was also mentioning that he was quoting His Holiness Caitanya Maharaj. So Caitanya Maharaj in Ghanshyam Prabhu, when he was in Mayapur, he was attending Bhakti Shastri, and Caitanya Maharaj, he was one of the teachers. And when they were studying Nectar of Devotion, so for Bhakti Shastri, one of the books you study is Nectar of Devotion. And in Nectar of Devotion, all of these things are given. How there is Raganuga Bhakti, and then there's Vaidhi Bhakti, Bhakti according to rules and regulations. And what is Raganuga Bhakti? Raganuga Bhakti is when a devotee, he takes inspiration from a Ragatmika Bhakti, Ragatmika Bhakta, and follows in his footsteps. Who is a Ragatmika Bhakta? A Ragatmika Bhakta is an eternal associate of the Lord. So in Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna has all of his eternal associates. So to do Raganuga Bhakti, what you have to do? You have to take inspiration and follow in the footsteps of one of those eternal associates of Krishna who are there in Goloka Vrindavan. So you follow in their footsteps, in that way you do Raganuga Bhakti. So that's the definition of Raganuga Bhakti. You follow in the footsteps of a Ragatmika Bhakta, or you follow in the footsteps of a devotee who is a Nityasiddha, eternally liberated associate of the Lord, who is there in the spiritual world. So then Caitanya Maharaj, in reference to this, explains that who is Srila Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada is none other than a Ragatmika Bhakta, right? Srila Prabhupada is a eternal associate of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, of Krishna, coming down from the spiritual world to deliver all the fallen conditioned souls here in this material world. So Srila Prabhupada is a Ragatmika Bhakta. Srila Prabhupada is an eternal associate of Krishna. So if we follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, if we follow Prabhupada's instructions strictly, then we're following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, who is a Ragatmika Bhakta. So in that sense, we're all also doing Raganuga Bhakti. So in this way, Caitanya Caritamrta explains, although it seems that we're just doing rules and regulations, actually by following strictly whatever Prabhupada is saying, we're actually also doing Raganuga Bhakti. Because Prabhupada is a Ragatmika Bhakta. Prabhupada is an eternal associate of Krishna coming straight from Goloka Vrindavan. So all we have to do is just simply follow Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada will take back home, back to Vrindavan. So in this way, Caitanya Caritamrta, he clears this down. And so many times Prabhupada assured his devotees that don't have to worry about anything, you just simply chant your 16 rounds, follow the 4 regular principles, just follow what I've given you, and don't worry, I will take you back home, back to Godhead. And as we hear from the Shastras, that when a devotee of Krishna, they give their promise, when a devotee of Krishna give their word, then Krishna, he will make sure that the words of the devotee come true. We see that with Bhishma, right? Bhishma said, today I will fight so vigorously against Arjuna that I will force Krishna to pick up his weapon. Although Krishna has promised, in this battle I won't pick up any weapons. Today I will fight so fiercely, I will fight so aggressively, that I will force Krishna to pick up his weapon, I will force Krishna to break his promise. So because his pure devotee gave a word like that, Krishna, he had to make it happen. So then Krishna, he picked up the chariot wheel and he broke his own promise. So whenever a pure devotee of the Lord says something, then Krishna, being completely subservient to his pure devotees, will always make sure the words come true. So Srila Prabhupada has given his word that you just follow what I'm saying, I will take you back home, back to Godhead. Another time Prabhupada said that you just simply grab onto my dhoti and I will take you to Goloka Vrindavan through the back door. Okay, you guys aren't qualified, okay, you're all Kali Yuga souls, not able to do this properly, not able to do that properly, you have this anatta, that anatta, so many faults, so many attachments. Okay, no problem, you can't do it properly through the front door, no problem. I have the key to the back door to Goloka Vrindavan. All you have to do, just grab onto my dhoti, just follow the little things I've given you, and I will sneak you into Goloka Vrindavan through the back door. So like this one time Prabhupada, he told his disciples. So that's our only hope. On our own strength, who are we? We all know ourselves, how fallen we are. We all know how many anarthas we have, how many material desires and attachments we have. But Srila Prabhupada is our only hope. Srila Prabhupada is coming straight from Goloka Vrindavan, and he is saying, you just follow the simple process I've given you, I will take you back home, back to Goloka Vrindavan. You don't have to worry about anything. So what should we focus on? We should just focus on Srila Prabhupada's instructions. We should try and follow Prabhupada's instructions most strictly, most sincerely, to the best of our abilities. If we do that, okay, then it's certain we will go back home, back to Goloka. Okay, text 86. Again, Mahaprabhu is quoting another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Like this, you'll see, CC will just be full of verses from Bhagavatam, quoted again and again and again. Okay, text 86. This is a verse quoted from Canto 10. Nayam sukapa bhagavan dehinam gopika sutta jnaninam chatma bhutanam yata bhakti matam iha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the son of Mother Yasoda, is accessible to those devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self. Text 87. By executing regular devotional service, one becomes an associate of Narayana and attains the Vaikuntha Lokas, the spiritual planets in the spiritual sky. So normally speaking, if you do regulated devotional service, at most you can go to Vaikuntha. But in our case, we have the special mercy of Sri Sri Gauranatai, we have the special mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So even though we're doing regulated devotional service, we'll still go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Text 88. Again, this is another verse quoted from the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who discuss the activities of Lord Krishna are on the highest platform of devotional life, and they evince the symptoms of tears in the eyes and bodily jubilation. Such persons discharge devotional service to Krishna without practicing the rules and regulations of the mystic yoga system. They possess all spiritual qualities, and they are elevated to the Vaikuntha planets which exist above them. So Prabhupada is saying, this is a quotation from Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 15, text 25. So this verse is explaining that those in that spontaneous level of, the highest level of devotional service in the spontaneous platform, they engage in discussions of Krishna, and just simply by discussing Krishna, they go into ecstasy and they start exhibiting transcendental ecstasy as symptoms of tears coming from the eyes, bodily jubilation, hair standing on end, so on and so forth. And there are some instances where Prabhupada was accounted to display these ecstatic symptoms also. And in general, it is said, Prabhupada explains, that in general, a Vaishnava is very humble. So what he'll do, whenever the spiritual ecstasy is coming, he will try not to show it outside. He'll try and suppress it. Because if he starts showing transcendental symptoms of ecstasy, what will happen? Then he'll get name, fame. He doesn't want to bring attention to himself. He just wants to bring attention to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. So that is the mood of a Vaishnava. He just wants to stay in the background. He wants to serve the Lord, and he wants all attention and attraction to just simply go towards Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. He doesn't want any attention to himself. So for pure devotees, although they are on this platform where they're experiencing all of these symptoms, what they'll do, they'll try and suppress these symptoms when it comes to public. When they're in front of others, they'll try and suppress it so it doesn't get revealed. Because they don't want to get name, fame, glorification, so forth. So that's why Srila Prabhupada, there's only a few rare instances where Prabhupada tried to suppress it, but it came out, and devotees, they saw it. So one famous example is that in Atlanta, when Prabhupada, he comes in that temple, recently they installed Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai. So then Prabhupada, he starts talking about Gaur-Nitai. Parama Karuna, Pahudui Jana, Nitai Gaurachan. Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai, they're the most merciful. Like this, Prabhupada starts the class by glorifying how merciful Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai are. That ordinarily speaking, for us, technically speaking, none of us should be practicing bhakti. In Kali Yuga, to practice bhakti, it's not possible, it's not supposed to happen. Only because Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai came, only because Gaur-Nitai are giving us their causeless mercy, although we are fallen, we are able to practice bhakti. So like this, Prabhupada is starting the class by glorifying Gaur-Nitai, saying, Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai, they are so merciful, they are so magnanimous. Just by speaking a few words like this, that's it. Then Prabhupada, he goes into spiritual ecstasy and then he starts crying tears of ecstasy in the class. And that's it, class is over. Just Prabhupada speaks a few words about the mercy of Gaur-Nitai and being overcome by so much gratitude of how merciful Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai are, that Prabhupada, he just goes into trance, ecstasy, and then he starts shedding tears of ecstasy. And Srila Prabhupada's disciples who were present at this time, they explain that normally when tears come from the eyes, it will just come slowly, right? A couple of tears will just slowly glide down, the eyes like that. But at this instance, when Prabhupada was crying, in transcendental ecstasy, the tears weren't just slowly gliding down his eyes, but Prabhupada's disciples explain that just like you take a syringe and you pump water out of the syringe, and with that force, tears were coming out of Prabhupada's eyes. So we can't imagine, how that would be. How someone can cry with that force. So that's tears in transcendental ecstasy. It's not normal tears, but tears come out of one's eyes, just like you get a syringe and you pump water out of the syringe. At that force, the tears were coming out of Prabhupada's eyes. Another instance, Sutakrita Prabhu, he remembers, is in Mayapur. Again, Prabhupada was giving class in Mayapur, and just at the start of class, after Jai Radha Madhava, Prabhupada, he just goes into complete trance. And Prabhupada just sitting in the Vyasasana, just quietly like this, and is just completely silent. For many minutes, Prabhupada just goes into samadhi, and everyone is just in silence. And no one knows what to do. Prabhupada is having an ecstatic moment. Then finally, one of the sannyasis, he picks up the mridanga or katals, and then starts chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Or he starts chanting Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaibu. He starts a kirtan. Then when Prabhupada hears the kirtan, he comes out of the samadhi, he comes out of the trance. Then later on, after this, there's a big argument amongst Prabhupada disciples. Some of the disciples were accusing this sannyasi, saying that, Prabhupada was in samadhi, you disturbed his samadhi, you shouldn't have started the kirtan. You should let Prabhupada just continue on with his trance, When you started the kirtan, you disturbed Srila Prabhupada's samadhi. And then there was another batch of devotees who said that actually what he did was right. There's no harm in kirtan. Kirtan is always transcendental. What he did was proper. So then there was this fight between these two groups of Prabhupada disciples. Then they brought the matter to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada today, at the start of the class, you went into samadhi and we didn't know what to do. But then this so-and-so sannyasi, he started the kirtan and he broke your samadhi, he broke your trance. Was this proper? We think it's not proper. And then the other group is saying that we thought it's okay. And then Prabhupada very humbly, he replied He replied by saying that, sorry for today, actually I don't do this often. So Prabhupada apologized to his disciples to show him he is transcendental to ecstasy. So, you can just imagine the humility of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada very humbly said, sorry, I did this today. I don't do this often. Please forgive me. And Prabhupada then said that actually what the sannyasi did was okay. Next time when it happens, you can, hopefully it doesn't happen, I'll keep it within. But if it happens next time, you can do the same thing. You can start kirtan. That's fine. Like this Prabhupada says. So like this, there are few examples like this where Prabhupada revealed, but in general, Prabhupada would keep it within. Because a pure devotee, he never wants to bring attention to himself. He's very humble. He just wants all the attention to go to their Lordship, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. Another story I was hearing recently, Prabhupada was in his room, and one of Prabhupada's disciples, he came into the room with prasad or something, some service he had to do. So he comes into Prabhupada's room, and when he comes into Prabhupada's room, he sees Prabhupada is crying. Then he gets worried, because he hasn't read Nectar of Devotion and all these books, so he doesn't know that, in the higher levels of bhakti, one cries tears of ecstasy, so on and so forth. So he's just seeing Prabhupada crying. If you imagine an ordinary person seeing someone else crying, what do you think? Okay, something is wrong in his life. He's in depression, something has happened. So then this devotee, he gets worried. He's a new devotee, he comes into Prabhupada's room with prasad or something, and he sees Prabhupada is just crying. And he thinks, something has happened to Swamiji, maybe some bad news has come from India, something has happened in India, and it's very much hurt Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is in anxiety, and because of that he's crying. So he immediately runs back to the other devotees and says, I went to Prabhupada's room, I think something really bad has happened, due to which Prabhupada's crying. And then the other devotees, they explain to this particular new devotee that no, in higher stages of bhakti, Prabhupada it's not material tears, Prabhupada's just in transcendental ecstasy. And in transcendental ecstasy, he's shedding tears of love of Krishna. So then this devotee says, okay, there's something like this. Then he understands. Then he goes to Srila Prabhupada, and then he apologized to Srila Prabhupada. That Prabhupada, earlier on I came, and I think you were having a spiritual trance, you were in samadhi, but I came and I think I disturbed your trance, I disturbed your samadhi. And then Prabhupada said, no, you don't have to be sorry, I don't do this often. Actually, I was seeing Krishna, that's why I went into ecstasy. Krishna personally came and appeared. And then this devotee said, really, you saw Krishna? Where was Krishna? And then Prabhupada pointed to the lawn outside on the grass and he said, Krishna was there and he appeared to me. And that's why I went into ecstasy, like that. And there's another instance before Prabhupada started ISKCON in Vrindavan. One of those people living there in Vrindavan, they saw later on during the day, Prabhupada was wearing a super fragrant garland of flowers, which no one had ever seen before. And this garland of flowers was super fresh. And later on, when they inquired from Prabhupada, they got to find out that actually at night, Krishna had personally came and given this garland of flowers to Srila Prabhupada. So like this, there are some instances where Prabhupada, he reveals these higher stages of bhakti, higher ecstasy of bhakti. But in general, a devotee, he will suppress it within. He won't want to reveal it to others. Okay, text 89. The devotees are divided into three categories: akama, desireless, moksha kama, desiring liberation, and sarva kama, desiring mature perfection. So all the devotees of Krishna, they go into three categories. One are those devotees who don't have any desires, they're just completely pure, they just want to serve Sri Sri Radha Gopinath and they don't want anything for themselves. Then there's those devotees who practice bhakti and they want liberation. They want, they're sick and tired of this material world, they just want to get out, go get liberation. Then there's the third kind of devotee, sarva kama, those who have some mature desires, and to fulfill those desires, they're worshipping Krishna. And they're praying, Krishna, I need this, I need that, so on and so forth. And now Mahaprabhu again is going to quote a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Like this, already in 10 verses we've covered, Mahaprabhu has quoted already 4 or 5 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is a very famous verse Mahaprabhu is going to quote from 2nd canto. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo daraditi vrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. One who is actually intelligent, although may be a devotee free from material desires, a karmi desiring all kinds of material facilities, or a jnani desiring liberation, should seriously engage in bhakti yoga for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Mahaprabhu is quoting this verse from Bhagavatam to establish that it doesn't matter which category you're in. You might be a pure devotee with no desires. You might be a person with a lot of desires, many desires. I want this, I want that, I want this. Or you might be a person who wants liberation or moksha. Doesn't matter, regardless of which category you're in, you just worship Krishna. Krishna will help you, Krishna will fulfill all your desires, Krishna will take care of you. So in this way, Bhagavatam establishes that no matter which platform we're in, the best thing for us to do is just come, take shelter of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath's lotus feet. And Krishna will arrange everything nicely for us. Text 91. The meaning of the word Uddharadi is buddhiman, intelligent or considerate. Because of this, even for one's own sense gratification, one engages in the devotional service of Lord Krishna. So in this verse from Bhagavatam, the word used is Uddharadi, which means one who is very intelligent. So according to Bhagavatam, one who worships Krishna, he is the most intelligent. So this is given in second canto of Bhagavatam. Text 92. The other processes cannot yield results unless they are associated with devotional service. Devotional service, however, is so strong and independent that it can give one all the desired results. So two things Mahaprabhu is mentioning in this verse. Firstly, Mahaprabhu is saying all the other processes, the process of jnana, karma, yoga, so on and so forth, they can only give one success, they can only give one results if they have a tinge of bhakti attached to it. Which means a person following the path of jnana, he can only be successful in realizing the impersonal Brahman if his following the path of jnana is tinged or has some trace of bhakti or devotional service. If there's no trace of bhakti in his path of jnana, he won't attain perfection. Same with the yogi. The yogis doing Ashtanga yoga in the forest, they can only attain Paramatma realization if there is a tinge of bhakti in their Ashtanga yoga process. So tinge of bhakti has to be there in all the other paths. If it's not there, the other paths won't be successful. The second point Mahaprabhu is explaining, that bhakti is so strong and independent that it can give one all the desired results. Which means, there's many different paths, karma, jnana, yoga, this path, that path, so on and so forth. And different paths, they give one different benefits. So then someone might have a doubt. If I give up all of these other paths and I just worship only Krishna and do bhakti, then I'll miss out on the results which jnana gives. I'll miss out on the results which Ashtanga yoga gives. I'll miss out on the results that, doing karma kanda sacrifices give. Okay, by doing bhakti, I'll get some benefit, but I'll miss out on the benefits of jnana. I'll miss out on the benefits of yoga, so on and so forth. Krishna is saying, no. If you just do bhakti, you will get whatever benefits jnana gives, whatever benefits karma gives, whatever benefits yoga gives, you will get all those benefits. Bhakti includes everything else. You don't have to do anything separately. Like sometimes you see in person's house, they'll have many different deities, of different demigods. They'll have 10 different deities. Okay, from this demigod we'll get this boon. From this demigod we'll get this benefit. From this god we'll get that benefit. So they have many different gods, and the idea is, if you worship this particular deva, you'll get this benefit. You worship that particular deva, you get that benefit. But Mahaprabhu is saying you don't have to do that. You just worship Krishna, do bhakti. Whatever benefits you can gain from all the other devas, whatever benefits you can gain by doing all the other paths, you'll automatically get. So you just keep your life simple, just do bhakti. Don't worry, you won't miss out on anything. Whatever desired results are there in all the other paths, you will automatically get. So in this way, Mahaprabhu is giving the essence of all the Shastras in very simple language. 93. With the exception of devotional service, all the methods of self-realization are like the nipples on the neck of a goat. Therefore, an intelligent person adopts only devotional service, giving up all other processes of self-realization. So now Mahaprabhu is giving an analogy. With the exception of devotional service, all the other methods of self-realization are like the nipples of the neck of a goat. So what does this mean? So if you look at the neck of a goat, like our neck is just normal, but the neck of a goat will be very fleshy. It will be like hanging down like this. It will be like a very fleshy kind of thing. So it looks like, the place where the milk comes out of the goat. So someone who is unintelligent, he will think that if I squeeze the neck of the goat, then I can get some milk out. That's where all the milk is. But actually, there's no milk there. It's just the fleshy part of the neck of a goat. So in the same way, Mahaprabhu is saying that all of these other parts of self-realization, they're just like the nipples on the neck of a goat, which means externally people think, unintelligent people think, okay, if I squeeze this, I'll get some milk, but actually it's just the neck of a goat. There's nothing there. You can squeeze as hard as you can, no milk will come out from the neck of a goat. So in the same way Mahaprabhu is saying, you can try, practicing jnana, yoga, karma kanda, so on and so forth, for many, many years and decades. But no matter how hard you try, you won't attain perfection. Just like one can squeeze the neck of a goat for many, many years, nothing will come. In the same way Mahaprabhu is saying, all these other parts, they're just like the nipples on the neck of a goat. You can keep trying, nothing will come. There's only one way, and one way only, Mahaprabhu is saying, and that is bhakti. All the other processes, they won't give you the desired result. Okay, then, therefore Mahaprabhu is saying, an intelligent person adopts only devotional service, giving up all other processes of self-realization. Text 94. So now Mahaprabhu is going to quote a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritan Arjuna ato jignasu artati gyanicha bharatarshaba. O best among the Bharatas, Arjuna, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me. The distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute truth. Okay, so we know this famous sloka, 4 kinds of people approach Krishna. And in the purport, Prabhupada gives examples. So at the end of the purport, right at the end of purport, in page 340, Prabhupada is going to give an example for each. So for those persons who approach Krishna because they're suffering, they have some distress, Prabhupada gives the example of Gajendra. So Gajendra was bit by a crocodile and he was suffering great distress. What did he do? He took shelter of Supreme Lord. Krishna came on Garuda and saved Gajendra. So that's an example for devotee of the Lord who approached Krishna out of distress. Then, example of devotees who approach the Lord out of inquisitiveness, Prabhupada gives that of the 4 Kumaras. And then an example of a devotee who approached the Lord for some material benefit is the classical example of Dhruva Maharaj. What did Dhruva Maharaj want? He wanted a kingdom greater than that of Lord Brahma, which is an impossible task. There's no higher planet in the entire universe than Satyaloka. But Dhruva Maharaj, he was so ambitious that he wanted a planet even greater than Satyaloka. But he worshipped Krishna and Krishna fulfilled his desires. So in this way, no matter which platform we're in, we might have many desires, we might be pure, or we might be desiring liberation, doesn't matter. Bhagavatam says, regardless of where you are at, you just worship Krishna. Krishna will take care of you. Then finally, an example of someone who approached Krishna out of knowledge. Prabhupada gives the example of Sukadeva Goswami. Okay, we'll go to text 95. Materialistic devotees take to devotional service and worship Krishna when they are distressed or in the need of money. Those who are actually inquisitive to understand the supreme source of everything and those who are in search of knowledge are called transcendentalists, for they desire liberation from all material contamination. 96. Because they have a pious background, all 4 types of people are to be considered greatly fortunate. Such people gradually give up material desires and become pure devotees. So Mahaprabhu is saying, it doesn't matter for what reason you approach Krishna. You might approach Krishna for fulfilling your desire. You might approach Krishna because you're inquisitive or you out of knowledge. Or you might approach Krishna because you're in distress. It doesn't matter. You just stick to the path of bhakti. Sooner or later you'll become pure and you'll attain pure devotional service. 97. One is elevated to the platform of devotional service by the mercy of a Vaishnava, the bona fide spiritual master, and by the special mercy of Krishna. On that platform, one gives up all mature desires and the association of unwanted people. Thus, one is elevated to the platform of pure devotional service. So how does one get elevated to devotional service? How did we all go from, complete sinners and ignorant Kali Yuga people to come to bhakti? Mahaprabhu is saying there's 3 reasons how we all came to the platform of devotional service. Number 1 is the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Number 2, the mercy of the spiritual master. And number 3, the mercy of Krishna. Because of the mercy of Krishna, because of the mercy of Guru, and because of the mercy of all the Vaishnavas, we are now situated in devotional service. So, we should always be offering our gratitude to all the other Vaishnavas, all those devotees who helped us in our spiritual lives. We should offer our gratitude. We should feel very grateful. We should feel grateful for Shri Shri Radha Gopinath for making arrangements for us to come in contact with devotees and becoming devotees. And we should also offer gratitude to our spiritual master and spiritual masters, by whose mercy we have come to the platform of bhakti. I was hearing one lecture by His Holiness Radhanan Maharaj today about Advaita Acharya. And start of the lecture was mentioning that on this day, the foremost thing we should be doing is offering our gratitude to Srila Advaita Acharya. Gratitude for what? Radhanan Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanan Maharaj, he explains that it is only because of Advaita Acharya that Shri Shri Gaur Nitai came. And it's only because of the mercy of Shri Shri Gaur Nitai we're practicing devotional service. Otherwise, technically speaking, in Kali Yuga, there is no hope for us. Technically speaking, we shouldn't be practicing bhakti. Only because Gaur Nitai's special mercy, we're in bhakti. And how did Gaur Nitai came? Who gave us Gaur Nitai? His Holiness Radhanan Maharaj was saying, it is only because of Advaita Acharyas praying so intensely for their lordships to come, descend in the material world, that Shri Shri Gaur Nitai came. So he was saying one of the main things we should be doing on this day is offering a gratitude to Srila Advaita Acharya, thanking him for bringing Gaur Nitai for us. Text 98. Now Mahaprabhu is quoting another verse from Bhagavatam, 1st canto, chapter 10, text 11. The intelligent, who have understood the Supreme Lord in the association of pure devotees and have become free from bad materialistic association, can never avoid hearing the glories of the Lord, even though they have heard them only once. The first line of this sloka is nice. Satsangam mukta dussango. Satsanga means association of devotees, and mukta dussango. Mukta means freed. Dussanga means bad association. So according to this verse, how to get rid of bad association? In our day-to-day lives, we collect some bad association of different persons. The bad association or influence of some materialistic persons. It has some negative influence on us. And this verse about him is giving one solution. How can we get mukta dussango? How can we get rid of all bad association? By satsangam. You keep yourself more and more in the association of devotees. By doing that, naturally, you'll keep yourself away from bad association. Very simple, but very powerful. You just make it a point. Plan your days, plan your week in a way you get maximum sadhu sangha. Plan your weeks and your days in the week, so some or other you're always coming into sadhu sangha. And by always being in sadhu sangha, naturally you'll be freed from all bad sangha, all bad association. 99. Cheating oneself and cheating others is called kaitava. Associating with those who cheat in this way is called dussanga. Bad association. Those who desire things other than Krishna's service are also called dussanga, bad association. Then Mahaprabhu again is quoting from Bhagavatam, the second verse of Bhagavatam, the famous Dharma Projita Kaitava Paramo Nirmatsaram Satam. And then text 101. The prefix pra in the word projita specifically refers to those desiring liberation or oneness with the Supreme. Such a desire should be understood to be the foremost cheating propensity. The great commander, Sridhar Swami, has explained this verse in that way. When merciful Lord Krishna understands that a foolish devotee desires mature prosperity, he gratefully gives him the shelter of his lotus feet. In this way, the Lord covers the devotee's undesirable ambitions. Now Mahaprabhu is quoting a verse from 5th canto. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desires, he undoubtedly does so, but he does not award anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. So this is a very nice verse to memorize or keep a note of. This verse explains how Krishna deals with his devotees. So all of us, we have many material desires still. Although we want to be pure, we still have many desires. So how does Krishna deal with those material desires? He must. So this verse explains this. So this is 5th canto, chapter 19, text 27. This verse explains that if our desires are something that will harm our bhakti, then Krishna, he won't fulfill that. And secondly, this verse is saying, still if one petitions Krishna again and again, keeps coming in front of Krishna again and again, asking for that same thing, although it might be bad for him, what does Krishna do? Krishna will forcibly give him transcendental nectar of his lotus feet. And by giving him the higher taste, Krishna will make him forget all of his mature desires. Just like last week we were giving the example of the intoxicating effect of Krishna Katha or chanting holy name, engaging in kirtan. Just like when someone goes into a pub, they drink beer or alcohol. With every bottle of beer they drink, they get more and more intoxicated. And the more and more one gets intoxicated, the more and more they go into forgetfulness, right? The more and more they go into that stage of forgetfulness. So the same effect is there in bhakti. The more and more one goes deeper into bhakti, into Bhagavatam, chanting holy name, kirtan, taking darshan, the more and more he gets spiritually intoxicated. Just like when you get mature intoxicated, you forget. In the same way, when you get spiritually intoxicated, you forget all your mature desires, all your mature hankerings, and all of your mature attachments. So that's what Krishna does. When a devotee comes to him with many mature desires, what Shri Shri Radha Gopinath will do? They will forcibly shower that person with nectar of their lotus feet. Either with special taste for the holy name, special taste for prasad, kirtan, sadhu sangha, special taste for Bhagavatam, so on and so forth. Then Krishna, by giving him that forced taste of nectar, intoxicating him with the nectar of his holy name, pastime, so on and so forth, Krishna will make that devotee naturally forget all of his mature desires and attachments. So it's a very beautiful verse from 5th canto. Okay, just 2 more verses we'll cover, then we'll stop. Text 104. Association with a devotee, the mercy of Krishna and the nature of devotional service help one to give up all undesirable association, gradually attain elevation to platform of love of Godhead. 105. In this way I shall progressively explain all the words in the Atmarama verse. It should be understood that all these words are meant to enable one to taste the transcendental qualities of Krishna. I have given all these explanations just to give some indication of the verse's meaning. Now let me explain the real meaning of the verse. So far, whatever verses we spoke today, Mahaprabhu hasn't given the actual explanations. He's just been giving some indication of what this verse can indicate. Now from 107 onwards, Mahaprabhu will give the direct meanings of this verse. How many different explanations Mahaprabhu will give? 64 different explanations of just this one verse, Atmarama verse. So that will start from tomorrow, 107 onwards. Okay, we're just over time. We'll stop here. Shri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.